Windy and Willow are 1-year-old wild beavers. These two sisters were found in a polluted culvert, scared, living alone without their family. Typically, a 1-year-old beaver would still be very close to their family, learning what it takes to survive as a swamp beaver. That's right. Down here in the South, we have swamp beavers. Most people, when you imagine a beaver, the beaver is living in a beautiful setting with mountains and streams. They're building dams, they're building up a lodge, they're storing food for the winter. But there's an entire different type of beaver that lives in the South, and that is where Windy and Willow come from. To learn what it takes to be a swamp beaver, just like if you were a beaver living up in the mountains, you need to spend at least 2 years with your family to understand how to survive. Windy and Willow, at the tiny young age of 1, were left to their own, and the only way they knew how to try and survive was by living in a culvert. And that's where Something Wild stepped in. We took Windy and Willow in, understanding that the transition for these two scared sisters was going to be tough. But to give them the best chance at survival, we need to help them learn what it takes to survive in the South. And they are going to stay with us at Something Wild while we teach them what they need to know. What type of things do beavers need to know to live in the South? Well, first of all, there are different types of dangers and predators down here. Humans, of course, are always the #1 predator. But beavers in the South have to contend with things like venomous snakes that live in the water with them, alligators, poisonous plants, ants that sting, and diseases that live in warm water that don't normally find their way up into the cooler waters of the mountains. So beavers down here, they have to have a very strong immune system. They have to understand these other dangers and how to avoid them. And again, these are types of things that are typically taught by the family, primarily by living in an established territory that is safe so that they can comfortably grow and learn. The other thing that beavers in the South have to contend with is the heat. Beavers genuinely you think of as being adapted to cold climates. But beavers in the South have to deal with oppressive heat, high water temperatures, and high air temperatures. So what we have found is our swamp beavers have much shorter, thinner coats than their northern counterparts. This is most likely an adaptation. Future studies might suggest that this could be a genetic difference. We still need to find that out. So, beavers in the South may not do so well if you were to transport them to the north, and vice versa, because the beavers of the north would not know what it takes to be a swamp beaver. Many people believe that beavers eat wood, but they do not. They do not eat wood. They do, however, eat the inner bark found in tree limbs and branches, and they love to eat the leaves of trees, but they do not technically eat wood. Beavers eat a variety of foods: vines, roots, grasses, shrubs, water plants. You'll find beavers sampling lots of different food. And beavers have a very sophisticated sense of taste. And we have observed that beavers here, when they are young and they're learning, will sample lots of different types of wild foods. Sometimes they love them, and other times it must not taste very good because they ignore it or spit it out. I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. Windy and Willow came to us, and Tulip chose their names. You can find that video. It's pretty adorable, but it's perfect names for them. And Willow, in particular, is a very important food source for the beavers. And Willow, interestingly enough, has medicinal properties and can provide pain relief. Beavers get little cuts and scratches. They just cannot help it. Considering how they live and between water and land and branches and sticks, at any given point, a beaver may have a little scratch or cut on them. And eating willow can provide pain relief and healing properties. So Willow, not only an adorable name for our little rescued beaver, is also a very important food for beavers to eat. And they can withstand winds. So Windy and Willow, perfect names for our swamp beavers. Windy and Willow, I know that you are very scared and that you don't know where you are, but I promise you are in the very best place you could possibly be so that you can grow up big and strong and be released into a safe environment where you know how to survive and thrive. That is our goal here at Something Wild. And we are going to do what it takes for each individual beaver that comes into our care to make sure that they live their best life.